Laser off your butt hair and put it on top.
All right, I'm starting this now. Oh boy, that's a good way to start off the show. That's called a rolling start, Sonny. In the business, we call that a rolling start. That's when we just hit the button right in the middle of early conversation. Welcome to another edition of the Raiders Retort with Sonny and Murph of Raiders Fan Radio. I am Murph. This right here is Sonny, and we are completely rational, level-headed, well-adjusted, absolutely just calm participants in this thing that we call Raider Nation. Right, Sonny? Is that a... Oh, welcome to the show, by the way.
Thank you, Murph. I'm not glad to be here. And, I am as calm as you can get.
And we are calm because our Oakland Raiders absolutely did not turn in another stinker of a football game today when they took on the Baltimore Ravens at home. Because this was the day, right, that we were told that Marshawn had worked with the offensive line. He asked specifically to work with Mike Tice this week. So we knew the running game was going to get going. We knew that we were going to be able to protect E.J. Manuel back there. So we knew that we were going to have plenty of opportunity on offense to get going. We knew Cooper, this whole thing with the drops, it probably wasn't that big of a deal. He was going to get open. He was going to show out. Jared Cook was going to regain the role that we all expected him to have. The defense has been playing fine, right? So everything's lovely. Right, Sonny?
Murph.
In the meantime, then let me just get this off my chest real fast. Who's balling out playing middle linebacker tonight for the Houston Texans? Oh, I don't know. Zach Cunningham from Vanderbilt, the guy that we said they should have drafted to begin with. In the meantime, Obi Melifonwu sits on the IR for 8 weeks, and Gary Conley's nowhere to be found. But I digress. Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't even know where to begin. Let me just preface this by stating, Tuesday, we record our regular podcast. That is our affable take on Tuesday. Tonight is our pure fan reaction show. So we want to hear from you. If you're watching, chime in, write some comments. What are your what's the biggest frustration right now, I think, is a good question if you're watching. What is your biggest frustration as a Raiders fan right now? And here's mine. As I stated on last week's Raider Retort show, as well as on our podcast, my biggest frustration right now is in the offseason, I thought this team was supposed to be creme de la creme, top tier in the league, and they're not. And this week, they went down a few notches, in my eyes.
Again.
Last week, we played the Denver defense in their stadium. You could justify last week's loss, Murph. You can justify losing to the Broncos 16-10 at their home. You could justify that loss, right? If Cook catches those 2 passes, what happens? This week, on top of last week, on top of the Redskins game, Jack Del Rio needs to be called into question at this point. This is my not too early calling the coach on this, because if you look at his record, if you look at his history with the Broncos and with the Jaguars, this is kind of what he does. And for right now, you have so many questions. Secondary, linebackers, running game, passing game, wide receivers, offensive line. You have questions all across the board. So you can't just single out Todd Downing or Derek Carr or Amari Cooper or Sean Smith or Ken Norton Jr. It starts at the top and blank rolls downhill. And you have got, I think, to start asking Del Rio questions about what the blank is going on with this football team. They're 2-3. We were supposed to be world beaters. We were supposed to have an offense. It didn't matter who was back there. We were supposed to have a defense that was decent enough. I'm not seeing any of that, Murph. I'm seeing Joe Flacco look like freaking Peyton Manning's playing for the Ravens. The Ravens were 30th coming into this game in offense. 30th. And Sean Smith is matched up on Mike Wallace? Sorry, Murph. Isn't Mike Wallace one of the fastest guys in the league? And don't we know that Sean Smith has a history of getting burned by fast receivers? And so we're still going to put Sean Smith on Mike Wallace? I don't get it, man. I don't get it at all, Murph. And quite frankly, I'm never not going to be a Raiders fan. But at this point, they'll be lucky to make the playoffs. They'll be lucky to have a 500 record. When you look at the rest of our schedule, good luck. Good luck. Good luck. So, what's your biggest frustration? I guess I'll pitch it back to you, Murph, and then we'll go to the comments. What's your biggest frustration, man?
My biggest frustration is the unknown. And I say that because in the long time leading up to this, and up to last year anyways, when we were bad, it was pretty easy to see why we were bad. I mean, we hadn't had a franchise quarterback since Rich Gannon, all right? And we had all these hypes and hopes about from everybody from Andrew Walter to Terrell Pryor and Aaron Brooks. And, I mean, you know what I mean? We go on and on and on down the list. Matt Flynn and Matt Schaub and, you know, it's endless, all right? So, but now we have a franchise quarterback, all right? So now what's wrong with the franchise quarterback? Well, we don't know, right? There was times in the past where we didn't have a good offensive line. For years, we didn't have a good offensive line. And the ones that we did have that were good were gone. Jared Valdir, Wisniewski, right? We lost these players. Then we had the whole debacle with, like, we couldn't even get Roger Saffold. Remember all that? Like, all this, like, they messed up the paperwork or whatever, and then Raiders weren't allowed to talk to him, and we didn't sign him. And our offensive line was a disaster. Well, this year, we're supposed to have the best offensive line in football. There were times in the past we didn't have a running game where we were dependent on guys like Justin Fargas, who always ran hard, but really was he the answer, right? Was Lamont Jordan really the answer? Well, we have an answer now. It's Marshawn Lynch. So what's wrong with him? There were times in the past we didn't have good wide receivers. We were dependent on guys like Chaz Schleans and Johnny Lee Higgins and, you know, even Jerry Porter, even for a little bit, before he unfortunately, he was an injury case more so than a performance case. But point being, though, we knew what the problem was. Well, now we have Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree and Seth Roberts. We were supposed to have great wide receivers. So what's the problem? Before we didn't have a pass rush. You see where I'm going with this? I know it sounds repetitive. Before we didn't have these players, but now we have these players. So what's the problem? And ultimately, here's where I agree with you. I'm not going to go nuts and be like, Del Rio needs to get fired. Look, I don't think that we need to go off the rocker or go all crazy here. And I don't think that wide sweeping changes like that and absolute changes, because only Sith deal in absolutes, by the way. But I don't think absolute changes like that are necessary. I think that's fan reaction. That's us wanting to get like, all right, who's somebody to blame? And like, let's get rid of him. Let's blame him. But here's what does something. But you're right, though. He does need to get called on the carpet, and something needs to change. Now, whatever that is, I don't know. But whenever I do know this. I've been around long enough to understand that when you see players regress and when you see and it doesn't matter what sport you're in, when you see players regress or you see the same group of talent go backwards, it always falls on coaches. And it doesn't matter if it's baseball, basketball, football, doesn't matter if it's kids or doesn't matter if it's NFL players. When you go backwards, it's typically coaching because you're not doing, and I say this all the time on the show and I'm going to keep saying it, because you're not doing a good enough job as the coach to get those players in the best positions possible to be successful. Now, we can all hoot and holler today about Sean Smith and about how Sean Smith sucks and he runs slow and he can't handle fast receivers. But who the heck is putting him on the fast receivers? Coaches are. Now, you could say, well, that's Ken Norton Jr. He shouldn't have him lined up out there and isolated on him. All right. Well, since you and I know that, Jack Del Rio should damn know that, and he should be getting into Norton's butt about getting him out there and singled up on him. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it comes down to the head coach. So this obviously is a time where it better be a dang wake-up call. Changes better start coming. Changes better happen fast. And you know what? And this is the other thing about this team. Where is your freaking heart? Why are you not pissed off? You know, I was watching, as I mentioned earlier, I was watching the game tonight. Chris Collinsworth, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but he said something that really resonated with me tonight. He said, when you get mad, you play better, or players typically will play better. Where is the pissed offness of this team. Why are they not pissed off? Where's the fire? At the end of the game, when we saw Sean Smith yucking it up with the two wide receivers that just blew his doors off all game long. Look, I get it. Look, yeah, we're friendly, and we had a couple people that took shots at me on social media tonight, and that's the way it is now. And they play jerseys. And where have you been? Where have I been? I've been a pissed off Raider fan that I fell in love with Jack Tatum and the freaking Soul Patrol and the freaking guts and the fire that this team used to represent. And now we don't represent that. Now we're representing yucking it up on the sideline and high fives and hugging each other after you just got your ass kicked. Where's the fire, man? Somebody get pissed off, somebody get prideful, and somebody go out there and just hit someone in the mouth, man. And it's just that comes from coaching. You've got to get these guys in a position where they're fired up, because the last thing I'm going to say, and there's so many directions to go, and I could rant all night. But here's the last thing about it too. We did a fantastic interview this past week with John Kingdon, the guy that authored one of the authors of the Al Davis book. We're going to have that interview coming for you this week on Raiders Fan Radio. He said something in reference to Jamarcus Russell, about players that get paid a lot of money. And when you ask those players what they want out of the sport, if they lead with the answer of, I want more money, well, then once they get more money, then what else do they have to work for? All right. What was Donald Penn's big thing this year? I want more money. Well, now you got more money. Now what? Well, now you suck again? Like, what else are we working for here? You know what I mean? He's just an obvious example of it. I think there's a lot more of that. And I'm not saying Carr, maybe, I don't know. I'm not pinning that on these guys at all. They got paid, so they stopped playing hard. I'm not necessarily saying that, but something changed. I know my eyes and I know my ears and I know what I see and what I hear, and something has changed, and that's inarguable. So whatever it is, you as a head coach, Jack Del Rio, ought to freaking know how to fix it, because you're the NFL head coach, not Murph, not Sonny, not any of us other members of Raider Nation. You are the one that we are dependent to know how to fix this damn thing. So right the freaking ship, because I'll tell you what, if we lose to the freaking Chargers next week, ball game on the season. Now look, and one last thing. I know. Here you go. I gotta get it out. Here's the other thing too. I caught a lot of mentions tonight about, you guys are jumping off the bandwagon. You're not real Raider fans. And
I love that when you're critical, you're no longer a Raider fan.
Yeah, I'm no longer a Raider fan. I've only been a Raider fan.
Critical, man. Come on, dude.
Yeah, I've been a Raider fan for freaking 36 years. Yeah, and no, I'm just gonna all of a sudden I'm not gonna be a real fan because I'm critical of this football team. What I am is real about this football team, and let me tell you this. If they go on a run and they win the Super Bowl from here out, then God bless them, and I'll be excited, and that will be an amazing thing. But that doesn't make right now any different. And right now they suck. And it's okay for us as fans to say they suck, because we're the ones that buy all this merch. We're the ones that host the freaking podcast. It's okay for us to vent. That's what this is all about. That's what part of being a fan is. And it's not okay to confront players and get into vulgar shouting matches and all that other ridiculous nonsense. But it is okay for us to stand up and to say, look, this team is not what we expected. It's not what we were sold. We were sold a bill of goods. They're duping us, or I feel duped anyways, and I'm pissed off about it. So anyways, I'm sorry. This isn't the Murph show, but man, Sonny, go ahead, please say something. Let me off the hook here.
All right, let's jump into some comments real quick here. Navarro states, get rid of Lynch. AJ states, Ken Norton needs to go. Joey states, there's no adjusting. They kept putting Sean Smith to get burnt. Josh King asks, but what changed from weeks 1 and 2 and the last 3 weeks? That's what I'm wondering. Joey states again, and Del Rio is showing no fire, no anger, just let's move on and work hard. Johnny Gons wrote, Jalen put it best, when are we going to stop getting our ass kicked? No more silent leaders, get angry and challenge each other.
Yes.
Josh King writes, Penn is not the same. Joey states, I say Ken Norton first, then Del Rio. These guys stopped being players and became politician. Joshua writes, the hunger is gone once you get paid. Josh King states, yes, I agree, the money changes some players. AJ states they changed since taking a knee. Jeff Haskins over at deadpiratesports.com writes, "Go Murph, go. Super Bowl ain't happening. Raiders finished 10-6, 6-10. High expectations leading to the season and such a tremendous letdown so far." Josh, that's what I keep stating over and over, man. Going into the season, this was it. This was the year. 12-4 last year. If Carr doesn't get hurt, look out. Todd Downing, Marshawn. Nope, 2-3. And Murph, to me, I think it's just like this is such a Raider thing to do, isn't it? Only the Raiders could do this. And don't get me wrong here. I'm a Raiders fan for life. There is no jumping off the bandwagon because I never got on a bandwagon to begin with. I became a Raiders fan. It's such a stupid thing when people say, "Oh, you're critical of the team, so therefore you're not a fan." Like, are you that sensitive? I love these sensitive little snowflake gangsters running around like we saw in the picture with Donald Penn. You got a freaking guy challenging a 300-pound NFL lineman. You don't think that Donald Penn would whoop that little scrawny guy's freaking ass? Give me a break, dude. But no. But what happened is this guy, somewhere in his life, never had a sense of pride, never found a sense of belonging, so he's out there trying to prove himself, and he's going to come at Donald Penn. He's going to throw a bottle at Donald Penn's car, which is probably worth more than the guy's home, and then Donald Penn gets out and has the dexterity and the composure to back off and say, "Yeah, this guy threw a bottle at my car," and then this guy goes on social media and says, yeah, what a punk, he's a snitch. I freaking hate that mindset, Murph. I cannot stand it, and it just pisses me off to no end, man. Because this guy is going to attack Donald Penn and then call Donald Penn out for acting with a level head. And then the stupid guy says, "Yeah, East Oakland, baby, East Oakland." Well, you know what? That's why the Raiders want to leave Oakland. That's why they're going to Vegas, because of that stupid mindset logic that happens. And, of course, it can only happen to the Raiders after a stupid loss against the Ravens, man. I'm fired up, dude. It is freaking ridiculous, dude. It is ridiculous. All of the hype, all of the expectations, all of the Carr is the greatest, he's going to set records, blah, 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 blah. Cooper gained 20 pounds. Lynch is on board. Offensive line's jacked up. We brought in Jared Cook, Cordell Patterson, and what? And nothing. And on top of a 2-3 season, you have the anthem crap going on. You have Carr getting hurt again. You have Lynch continuing to sit down. And then to top it all off, you have the stupid fan throwing a bottle at Donald Penn's car. Give me a freaking break, dude.
What about the guy peeing in the stands? Did that one miss you?
I didn't see that, man. I didn't see that.
Like so disgusting. Dude in the front row in the black hole, you could see our good friend of the show, Gorilla Rilla, is right there to the right of him.
Black hole?
Yes, dude, like pulls his junk out and pees and had required police, intervention to come down there and escort the guy out. And it's just out there on Instagram, plain as day. I mean, you could just see the guy just whips it out and just goes for it right there. I mean, that's unfortunately what we as Raider Nation, are portrayed as times. What we've devolved into? Guys that urinate in the stands and then challenge the players to fights after the game. Look, I'm just as pissed and just as you are, as any of us are, other a performance, and the fact that Donald Penn, the only car he protects is the one that he drives, right? We're all pissed about that. Okay, but don't devolve into that, for goodness sake. Let's keep your humanity about you, right? Like, come on, man. It's just silly. But anyway, all right, let's get into some specifics of the game. All right, so we look. Hold
on, let me go real quick here.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's see where we at. Nick states Lynch is being misused, just like Peterson. Lynch is an under center running back, not out of a gun. And Nick, I agree. Traditionally, he ran it under center. The problem is Raiders don't do a lot of under center. They do more shotgun, so that's going to be interesting. Joey writes, we didn't address linebacker in free agency, and Ken Norton Jr. still employed. The writing was on the wall. Jeff Haskins, Dead Pirate Sports, writes, today was a very disrespectful day in Oakland. Jeff states, this guy is a joke, not a true fan. You just don't do that, blank. I agree. AJ, Cook unproven and an overnight catch. So now he's supposed to be better than Gronk, scratching my head, reality coming true. Lionel writes, I love my Raiders. I agree. I love the Raiders, man. I love them a lot. Unfortunately, they're not producing. They're just not producing. Cooper looking like a bust. I don't know, AJ. I don't know if I want to call it a bust just yet. The dude had a couple really good seasons. And he was on track to really do some really good stuff if he would have made this season another one as well. I don't know if I want to go a bust, but let's talk about Cook real quick, Murph. Cook was brought in to be a difference maker. He was brought in to kind of be that middle threat that Walford wasn't really giving us, that Lee Smith, he's more of a passing guy. Michael Riviera, he was supposed to do it, the guy out of Tennessee. So Cook was brought in to be that difference maker over the middle that made our tight ends a legitimate passing threat. That hasn't happened. On top of that, never comes down to one play, but he dropped a potential game-winning touchdown pass last week. And then what does he do this week, Murph? To follow it up, he comes out, he gets pissed off, and he has a great day, right? No. He fumbles his first freaking catch, and it goes for 6 the other way, and all of a sudden the Raiders find themselves down 14-0 in the first quarter, man. It's just like, what the heck is going on, man? And Jeffrey Pavey writes, there's something going on in that locker room that we don't know about.
I agree. I agree. I think that's it, is that we don't know about it. And again, to reference the interview that we had with John Kingdon earlier this week, one of the things that's so cool about the book, about this Al Davis book, in fact, it's right here behind me, this one right here, Al Davis Behind His Shield. One of the things that's so cool about it is that there's a lot of things. He covers everything from what happened with Gruden, what happened with Jamarcus, what happened with Kenny Stabler, Marcus Allen, all these big-time player stories that have come through Oakland and Los Angeles over the years, and things that as fans, decisions that were made, and we sit back and we go, well, why did that happen? Why? I don't understand. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Or this book tells you all those things because there's always a big picture. There's always something bigger. There's always something more going on within the walls of Alameda that we know as fans. So I totally agree with that statement. I think that is the part that's got us kind of unnerved, is that we have a group of good character men. We have a group of good coaches. We have health in our organization from the front office down more than we have had since 2002. And probably, frankly, prior to that, because even though we were having success on the field back in those Gruden years, when you read this book, you realize there was a lot of things that were going on that weren't all that healthy. So really, you're talking about the Raiders organization as a whole is healthier now than it has been since probably 1983. And that's real talk. So if with all of those good things, all of those positive things happening, why are we such a disaster? We got a bunch of choir boys, and that's a great thing. There's a man of faith, and you are as well.
Well, but let me time out there. Is that a bad thing? Because right now, Murph, if I had to ask you, who is going to be the player to step up and light the fire under everyone else's ass?
Well, you can be a Christ follower and still inspire a team to do good things.
I'm not saying it's against his faith. What I'm saying is, who in that locker room has the clout, the control, the respect to do that?
No one.
I don't think there's a guy in there that can do it right now.
No one. And I
think that's the issue.
And that's
one of them.
This is another thing that I've brought up numerous times, and again, I'll continue to bring up until things change. This was the biggest impact that Charles Woodson had by leaving. This was the biggest thing because he was the leader of our team. He was the man. He was all the attention. Everything ran through Charles Woodson because he not only had the respect of the players, he had it of the fans, of the front office, of the NFL as a whole. You name it. There's not anybody other than maybe an Ohio State fan, you know what I mean? That or somebody that's a Peyton Manning honk or something. Somebody that doesn't respect the heck out of Charles Woodson and what he did for not only the Raiders, but for the NFL as a whole, right? And so now you take that out of the equation and look at what's happened. And this was it was kind of obvious to me, obviously, when it happened. But when Carr went down last year, the team was done. Not only were we as fans let down, but the team was down. That was it. It was ball game. I got to think that if you got a Charles Woodson in the locker room, that doesn't happen. They don't come out as flat as they did with the lack of hope, right? And the lack of confidence in their ability to go out there and still perform if you still have somebody the caliber of Charles Woodson in your locker room. Now, I thought that Marshawn Lynch was going to give us that because Marshawn Lynch, although he's not a big out front kind of vocal guy like Chuck was, I thought that he's got the ring, he's got the performance record, he's got juice, right? Like he's got enough to be able to command the respect in the locker room of these young guys or younger guys, whatever. But that's not happening. And I also thought that with the combination of the leadership between Carr and Mack on offense and defense, I thought that would be enough. Rodney Hudson is another one. I thought it would be enough. It's not. And so if it's not, then you got to get it somewhere else. You got to have a leader in there somewhere. I feel like we don't have a leader. Jack is just kind of loosey-goosey, like, hey, man, just like, whatever, like just kind of things are going to happen and things are going to go. And, Reggie, it's not Reggie McKenzie. Like, there's no strong voice for this football team to provide the identity that we're all talking about as well. That's another thing. We all talk about the team is seeking the identity. What's the identity of the Raiders? We don't know because there's nobody out there to be the sounding board for what that identity is. You know what I mean? And you don't necessarily have to be out there and, yakking it up at a press conference because there's plenty of leadership on the Patriots teams and they're not out there like, being a bunch of chatty Cathys. But you get my point though, is that, there's leaders that present themselves on football teams. Can you have through any organization? You have to have a leader present. And we just don't have it. I mean, if I were to ask you who the leader of this football team is, your answer is probably going to be Derek Carr. Well, you tell me, and I agree, you tell me what has Derek Carr done to provide leadership to this football team recently? What?
He high-fived DJ Manuel after that nice touchdown pass to Crabtree.
And again, both things can be true here. Both things can happen at the same time. We don't live in a world of black and white. We have a gray area here. And the gray area is I can love Derek Carr and what he represents and what he does and criticize him at the same time. And I'm going to criticize him as a leader because he's got to step up and be a leader because right now he's not. Somebody has to. And if it's not him, then somebody else do it.
I don't know, man. Like
you asked me about Jared Cook. So, So
let's hit these comments real quick. All right. Joey writes, why is it against the law to use a fullback to block for Lynch? Jeffrey writes, Broncos have Musgrave now. Now guess who knows our playbook? Ricardo writes, I was watching the interview they did with Amari Cooper, and he looked like he didn't even want to be there, or he looked like he didn't care. What is going on here, Raider fam? Cooper had 2 targets today, Murph. 1 catch for 8 yards. You are not an elite receiver if that's your stat line for the game. That wasn't really a must-win, but it needed to happen. But you're not an elite receiver if that happens. And no, again, I'm not jumping off the bandwagon because I'm critical of the Raiders. I was never on the bandwagon to begin with. I've been a Raiders fan my whole life. Nick writes, Crabtree. Rosanna writes, Murph, love the shirt. Why is it like that? I can answer that for you, Rosanna. Murph appears backwards because he hasn't figured out how to stream himself on OBS software yet.
Oh, no. Am I backwards? Am I really? Oh, okay. Yeah. No.
Shane writes, that is why Woodson's my favorite Raider of all time. Jeff writes, Mack is the only one who would have a shot. I agree, Jeff. I think Mack is that guy. And now you have to wonder, is he doing it? Is he not doing it? What's going on there? Jeffrey writes, I think everyone's mad because Carr got paid $125 million. Joey writes, no more locker room leaders. Joey agrees with you. Even Penn, I thought at least he could inspire. Lynch is garbage, says Navarro. He's not what people expected. Rosanna writes, we need Tim Brown back. I don't think Tim Brown's as fast as he once was. Rosanna.
He's probably got better hands than anybody on the team right now, though.
Yeah. Somebody who's got receivers, hold on the ball. Carr's leader, ask Randy. Randy, I agree with your question mark. Carr's the leader, right? Like that's what we're asking. Is he the leader? Is he the guy to get this team to rally? He wasn't against the Redskins. He wasn't against Denver, and obviously he was. He was on the field today. As only a leader. He wasn't on the field, so I don't know. But I gotta agree with Joey, man. This team has lost their heart. Like there's no fight in this team. And maybe there never was. Maybe the Titans weren't as good as expected. I think they lost today, didn't they? Or did they come back?
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
So the Titans aren't very good. Jets are actually
that was ugly, too. They lost against the Dolphins, and the Dolphins are nothing, and the Titans looked worse. They couldn't – that vaunted running game that we talked about with Murray and Henry was pretty much non-existent today.
Maybe we're the biggest dummies in all this as the fans, because in the off season we're all like, yeah, this is it. We sound like the Cubs did for 86 years, so they actually won something. This is our year. We beat the Titans at their stadium. We beat the Jets, which, we should have done. But then after that, it hasn't really been. It's been awful. Take away the Bronco game, you could put the Redskins and the Ravens. Those were awful games, Murph. Not even close. Not a playoff team. I'll be shocked if this team wins the playoffs. It goes to the playoffs. And the big part is what the guy said. The Raiders have lost their heart. Where's the heart? Where's the fight? Where's the guy on the sideline rallying the defense to make a fourth quarter stop so they have a chance? Why is Del Rio punting? What was it, 4th and 3 on their own 45?
Oh, my gosh.
Now
all of a sudden, now today is the day he's
Come on, man.
Today's the day he's afraid of fourth down. The guy hadn't been afraid of fourth down since he's been the coach of our football team. And now today he decides that he's going to be afraid of fourth down. Are you friggin' kidding me? After last week when he went for it on goofy fourth downs and put our team in a bad spot, now he decides he's not going to go when we absolutely need him. We hadn't stopped the nosebleed all day long, and now he decides that this is the time when I'm going to, and we're going to net 20 yards out of a punt, and go, oh, it doesn't come down to one play. Yeah, well, sometimes it does. Sometimes it does, and that was a terrible call.
He's taking his cues from online Madden play and
I know. It's unbelievable, man. I don't understand that at all, because now, and then here we go back to the leadership thing. Now you're confusing your team. What are we? Do you have confidence in them or not? Because right now that tells them that you don't have confidence in them. You finally get the ball going. You finally are able to start moving the ball down the field, and then now all of a sudden you're afraid to go for it on fourth down. It's very confusing. What is it? Is it one or the other? You're right. So, something you said I'd like to hit on that I think is really important. We're the suckers in this. We as Raider Nation, you and me, really? Everybody listening to us right now, everybody out there that's flipped out because of the way that the team is performing, we are the suckers because we bought in to media hype. We bought into an off season. We bought into the rhetoric. And instead, we should have been patient and waited to see how the season unfolded before we got our hopes up. Because, look, on our podcast, we were talking about how anything less than a freaking Super Bowl appearance, at a minimum an AFC Championship berth against the Patriots would be a letdown. Are you kidding me?
This was preseason.
This is preseason. Yeah, now I look back on those conversations and I think, what a couple of morons. Right? You really do only got to have a couple Derek Carr jerseys to host a podcast. You know what I mean? Come on, man. Those expectations are way, way, way out of touch, and I think going into it, we bought into that hype. And I think that what we bought into, the reason why, was that we were dazzled by the skill positions and the idea of the potential of our skill players. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, though. In football, it always comes down to the core of your team. It comes down to your to the play on your offensive and your defensive line. It comes down to your depth at linebacker. Big surprise, right? It comes down to those types of things. Those are the things that win football games in the long run. It's not the flashy plays to Crabtree and to Cooper. It's not, the dump off to Jalen Richard where he turns a miss into a long gain, or Seth Roberts for that man. There was a lot of big flashy wins last year and big flashy moments, and we bought into that as the norm. Well, those aren't the norm in the NFL for the most part. For the most part, that's not how you win a football game. For the most part, you win a football game by grinding somebody up a little bit. You know what I mean? Or having those explosive playmakers make those plays, but they're all contingent on the other guys making their plays first, right? Because before the quarterback can throw, he's got to be protected. So if the guy's on his ass all game long, it doesn't matter what your receivers are doing downfield, what your playmakers are doing. It doesn't matter if you have, Tyreek Hill and all these other guys. If Alex Smith is camped out on his culo all night long, it doesn't matter. So I think that that's what happened. I think that we bought into it a little bit too soon. I think that now, clearly at this point, it's time to temper our expectations once again because, Sonny, I don't know about you, but today felt like watching the Raiders of the previous 10 years. Can't stop anybody on third down. They ran the same freaking running play in the fourth quarter, that freaking delay gut run. How many times? 3 in a row? I'm screaming at the television, somebody stack up the middle there. Somebody do something. And what the X's and O's are, the calls, I don't know. I'm a fan. Ken Norton Jr., Jack Del Rio, Reggie McKenzie, all you freaking linebackers, you figure it out. But do something about it because we all know what's coming. Like, come on, man. This is like, it was like watching. It was like, you always made a joke about it. Back in those days, it was great to watch a Raider game because you could be napping by the end of the first quarter because the game was already over.
Yeah, game was over by the second quarter.
The game was already over. Well, that's what it felt like today. Susie went down 14-0 was like, oh, crap. Because you didn't have any faith. We didn't have any faith. And that's what right now, I don't have faith in this team right now. Not until they show us something different. That doesn't make me less of a fan. I'm still a card-carrying member of Raider Nation. I promise you, and we'll host this podcast till the day I die. But they got to show us something because right now I don't have any faith in their winning.
So here's the real question, Murph. From an outsider perspective, from a fan, is it too early to call for the firings of coaches? Like, you never want to see stuff happen mid-season. It's far from a train wreck. I think, again, the biggest crime here is we all bought into Super Bowl contender, and instead we're 2-3. I think if the hype wasn't so high in the offseason, this wouldn't feel so bad. Again, this is a Tinder date gone bad. This is a Tinder date who used her profile picture from 5 years ago, but then, things have changed a little bit, and when you show up to actual meet her, things are different. This is what this is. It's a Tinder date gone south. So again, is it too early to call in some things, right? You mentioned roughly the same players on defense. The defense changed not a lot, a little bit. We got new starting middle linebackers. We got a new starting defensive tackle. We got Conley. We got Carey. We lost Hayden. Joseph is back. Obi, who knows, right? So the defense added in some players.
Look at the defense today. Sean Smith, McGill, Travis Johansson, Carey, Carl Joseph, Reggie Nelson. What's different?
I know. Well, the difference is you got Eddie Vanderdoes down low. You got middle linebackers, Marquell Lee, who wasn't there last year. But here's the question, Murph. Is it too early to start saying Norton's on the hot seat, one more bad game, he goes, let John take over defensive play calling duties? Or do they simply state Norton take a back seat, let John call the plays starting right now? I mean, can they make that decision?
Jack did it to Del Rio last year. Jack did it to Norton last year. Took over the play calling. I don't see why not. And but see, here's the thing. I don't think it's necessarily like a call. It's not like, calling a cover 2 or calling cover 3. I don't think it's necessarily that. I think
but it's position. It's putting Sean Smith on Mike Wallace.
Yes, it's schematic.
That's so freaking stupid, man.
Yes.
How does that end up happening? I want to go back and watch it again, but did the Ravens come out in an odd formation we weren't expecting? Did the Ravens outsmart you? Dude, and if that's the case, they have the 30th ranked offense in the league, dude. You got outsmarted by that? Then you deserve to be gone, man.
It was the first play from scrimmage. This wasn't like some big crazy offensive alignment. It was the first play from scrimmage, and you know what the worst part is? Sean Smith didn't stumble. It wasn't a double move. There wasn't anything fancy. It was Mike Wallace burning Sean Smith, which you're not supposed to be able to do in the NFL because everybody's fast, and even the fastest guy is only a little bit faster than the slowest guy. Yeah, BS, because Sean Smith just got ran by today. Like, just whoop, right on by him, 52 yards later. Like, and that's the stuff I'm talking about, is that if you're Ken Norton Jr. and you're the defensive coordinator of the team, it's not so much did you call a play that was effective or not. It's in practice this week, did you account for the fact that you have, even though he's getting a little bit older, he's still really, really fast. Did you account for the fact that you got a guy that's got trouble with fast wide receivers, and should they come out in an alignment that matches those two guys up together, what are you as a team going to do about it? Well, you're not just going to let Sean Smith, you're not going to switch and they're not going to like cross corners or something in the middle of the game, but you are going to have that safety prepared to come over and help him over the top. Or you're going to have a linebacker,
you mean Reggie 1 second too late, Nelson?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's another whole problem. But yes, but that's where the defensive coordinator drops the ball. It's not what he did today. It's what he did on freaking Thursday. That's the problem. And so that's what we've got to get corrected. So I'm with you. And you know what, the bye week is we got 2 more games, and then the bye week we got San Diego, or not San Diego, whatever the heck they are. And by the way, every time I see LAC on the TV, I think of the Clippers.
I know, right?
It drives me nuts. But so we got the Chargers, and then we got the Bills, and then we got the bye week, right? Am I saying that right?
I don't have a schedule
in front of me either, but it's something like that. I'd imagine that if there's going to be any wide sweeping changes to this team, anything mid-season, that's the time we're going to get it. So that gives them 2 more weeks to get it corrected. And I would imagine that that we're going to see that, again, you give them one more. It's not going to be this week. I keep saying Del Reno. Norton's not going to lose his job this week. But I could certainly see something starting to change. And then by the bye week, that's when any of the wide sweeping change would happen. And you know what? And frankly, he's not the only coordinator that we need to be talking about either, because he's the easy one, because he's been the one.
You want to go there, huh?
Oh, heck yeah, I want to go there. What the heck is up with Todd Downing, man? We sang this guy's praises, and I still think he's got it in him to loosen up and to do creative things with the people that he's got on defense. And I know that, like, he wanted to get Olawale as a big part of the offense today, and Olawale got hurt. Like, I get it. Things happen. Things change. It's understandable.
It's such a disaster. Oh, my God.
Right? I know, right? But it's just, like, he just seems tight in his play calling. It just doesn't seem like he's not
comfortable. He's not comfortable. He doesn't want to air it out. He doesn't want to stretch the field. He's not comfortable, man. And then on top of that, you hurt the number 1 quarterback and make him have his backup. That just makes him even more guarded.
They were. I forget which team it was. I was listening to today. I had to go out and run some errands. I was listening to a lot of the games on the radio, and there was one of the teams has made a coordinator change here recently, and they're saying that one of the things that he did was they just started airing the ball out more. How many deep balls have we seen from this Raider offense this year? Like, 1, 2? Like, I mean, today we saw a nice play by Manuel, best play of the game, frankly. That one where Crabtree got loose back there and they hit him for a 50-yarder for a touchdown. But I mean, we're not airing the ball out at all. I mean, nothing. We're not pushing the ball downfield at all, other than the one play against the freaking Redskins after they challenged us to put it in the air, and we did, and they picked it off. Like, outside of that, like, we haven't really pushed the ball downfield at all. So I don't know, Sonny. I'm thinking Downing has definitely got to be called into question. Old Bill Musgrave is sitting back at his house right now, or at least on the sideline of the Broncos, just going like, I told you, suckers.
All of a sudden, Bill Musgrave is the hot chick at the prom, right?
All of a sudden, all them screenplays are looking pretty good right now, huh?
Jet Neo. Hi, brothers from West Palm Beach, Florida. Shane writes, Chargers, Chiefs, Buffalo, Miami, then the bye week. So thanks, Shane. Joey writes, JDR heads should roll for keeping Norton around. Then Norton and the rest of the defensive coaches go. Nick just flat out, Downing is not a good OC. How many coaches do we need to go through to see the problem? Give Pagano the reins. I agree, Joey. I agree. Eric writes, Musgrave was the man. Grass is always greener until it's not, right?
Yeah.
Jeff states he's predictable. Musgrave was not the man. OC is hella predictable. I hated to see Musgrave go. So there's lots of grass is always greener. We all thought Todd Downing was the young and upcoming stud. We thought he'd be here maybe for a couple of years, wouldn't see Vegas, but maybe he won't see Vegas because we're going to can his ass.
Yeah. Not because he'll be the coach of the Colts, but because they're going to can him.
Okay, so E.J. Manuel came in the backup role, 13 for 26, 159 yards, 6.1 average, 1 touchdown, sacked 3 times, no picks, serviceable. Do you expect more or less from him or what?
I think he is exactly what we and anybody else in the NFL would expect their backup quarterback to be. Like that he has done everything he's needed to for the team to win. I think that he's done a great job. The fact that he's only taken 3 sacks, I think, is admirable because there are so many that he got his way out of that frankly, somebody with lesser.
That was a beautiful scramble on that Crabtree touchdown.
Absolutely. So somebody with lesser escapability, somebody like a Connor Cook, those are sacks, man. So, I think that he's done a really good job. I mean, guys are backup quarterbacks for a reason, right? And so you don't have this huge expectation that they're going to come in and set the world on fire. And, frankly, the Raiders aren't going to employ anybody that's going to be of any super high caliber unless it's really on the cheap because you got Derek Carr. You got your $26 million man. They're gonna, you know what I mean? Like we talked last week about how cool it would be.
That's your bell cow. He's getting the start no matter what.
It's no matter what. And we talked about how cool it would be if EJ came in and actually won, like 3 games and just in time for Carr to come out of the injury. And would there be a quarterback controversy? Yeah, it's kind of funny to talk about. But at the end of the day, no, there won't be. Carr's your quarterback no matter what because you're paying him to be. And so, I mean, EJ Manuel would have to have like a perfect passer rating and throw for, 400 yards every game for it to even be a question. But so anyways, he's done fine. I think he's great. I think he's got good, one of the old Raider sayings, right? Pride and poise. I think he's a very poised player. I think he's great. I like the guy, and hopefully he'll stick around. In fact, if he plays any or keeps playing well, he'll probably end up getting a starting job or at least an offer to go compete somewhere, I would imagine.
Lynch had 12 carries for 43 yards, 1 touchdown. Touchdown run was impressive. He ran over a linebacker, but again, 12 carries, 43 yards. Against a not very good, they're not horrible Ravens defense, not very good. Richard had 9 carries for 37 yards, 4.1 average, with a long of 14. Do you think we're force-feeding Lynch the ball too much, and maybe we should make a switch there, Murph? Do you think it's too early to say, sorry, Lynch, we're going to feature you in goal line situations, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 situations, and go with Jalen Richard or Washington, but it looks like it's Richard getting more carries. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's too early to make that push, that maybe Richard deserves a starting nod?
I don't think I don't know if you give him the, quote, starting nod, but I think that it's isn't that kind of what we expected for this year to anyways? Like, I mean, nobody expected Marshawn to come in and run for, at least we didn't. At least I think anybody reasonable, understanding his age and the offense we had and everything. Nobody expected him to come in and be a 1,400-yard back and all that. Like, that's not what the expectation was with Lynch. He was expected to be our grinder, our closer, our short yardage guy. I compared him a lot to, at least from an expectation perspective, to Zach Crockett when we had Zach Crockett on the team back in the early 2000s. I mean, you want to give that guy the ball on short, down and distance and get him to convert. On that touchdown run he had today was perfect. Like that's exactly
that's what Lynch is for.
That's what he's for. That's what you bring him in for. Now you're down in, down out, drive in, drive out type. I don't think he's the guy, and I don't think you need him to be. You kind of got to have him on a pitch count, it seems like, and you want to save him for late. And Richard showed today he's fully capable of doing it, and that the combination with Olawale. I don't know what's up with Washington. Was he scratched today? Was he around? I don't know. I haven't looked at any of the game reports. But anyways, but between those two guys, with Olawale, Richard, and then you add Marshawn. Those three, that should be plenty. Plus, we've seen Patterson get in the mix a little bit in the run game. So I think that's plenty. And when you consider we didn't bring him to be the focal point of our offense. Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree and Jared Cook and those guys, those are the ones that are supposed to be the focal point of our offense. So, anyways, I think the Marshawn experiment is still unknown.
I'm over it. I'm over it.
Well,
I'm over it.
I'm not over it because I think that he can be effective. I just think that we need to be really picky choosy when we use him, and just he doesn't need to carry the ball more than like 10 times a game, like for real. Like what was your stats today? Give them to me one more time.
12 for 43 with 1 touchdown, I believe.
That's no more than that. Like that's max. Like you know what I mean? He should
But again, it's not so much the numbers. How was he used, and was he used effectively? That's what I'm saying. 1st and 10, 25-yard line, put Richard in there, man. Lynch does not need to be in there for those plays. Make Richard our standard guy, 1st and 10, 2nd and 7, 3rd and 13. That's Richard all day long because he's a viable threat out of the backfield. You have to account for him, and he's fast and he's shifty, and he's young, so he can take the hits. The 3rd and 1, 4th and 1s, goal line, 1st and 3, 1st and goal from the 3 or something like that. Put in Lynch there. The 12 for 43 yards, that's irrelevant to me, man. The only good thing Lynch did today was that touchdown run where he ran over the linebacker. Richard can't do that. Lynch can do that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, he had 12 for 43, 3.7, something like that. But how did he get those, and what situations did he get those in? That's what I was asking, more or less. I don't know. Anyway, okay. It's just, we could sit here and bitch for 3 hours.
You could, and here's ultimately where I take away from today, is that something has got to change. Now, does it have to be a wide sweeping, dramatic change? Do heads need to roll? No. But I also know that we can't just blame this all on injuries and wait around for guys to get healthy. Okay, because we have some significant injuries. We're not going to get Obi out there until week 8, and he's going to be a rookie that hadn't played hardly any in the NFL other than the preseason. We're going to get Conley back soon. We're going to get Carr back soon. I know that Markel Lee got hurt today. Like I said, Olawale got hurt. So it's going to be a while before this team is fully healthy again. I know that the Aldon Smith thing is still kind of floating out there a little bit, so who knows what could happen with that. But at the end of the day, we can't just wait for the team to get healthy, because frankly, by the time that the Raiders are fully healthy with, the roster that they would want to field, it'll be too late. We have too many critical games coming up here in the very near future, and I mean, we're already, the Chiefs are undefeated. The Chiefs are undefeated. Yep. I got a lot of crap for saying last week that the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. Well, guess what? They're the only undefeated team in the NFL.
Get off the bandwagon, Murph. Get off the bandwagon, bro. Get off the bandwagon, snitch.
I'm not a real fan because the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. But anyway, so we are way behind the 8 ball. So now we're looking at, at a minimum, we have to beat them twice, and we haven't beat them in 3 years. Okay, so that's just to even get the conversation started. We got to do something twice this year that we hadn't done once in the last 3 years. So now we got to go and we got to beat them twice. So odds are, Raider Nation, like it or not, the division is probably a little bit out of reach. It's not over, and I hope we get it. I hope I'm dead ass wrong, and you can send me all the tweets and all the emails and voicemails and tell Murph what an idiot you are and you should be co-hosting a podcast, and I'll love you for it. But as of right now, the division is a little far out of our reach, so we're playing for a wild card. Well, by the time we get everybody healthy, those wild card hopes are going to start to dwindle even more. So we can't wait around for everybody to get healthy. We've got to make a change, but it doesn't have to be a wide sweeping change. We've just got to get our crap together. That's all. And I think that it's possible. We just got to get some leadership. We got to get some fire back to the Raiders, man. That's what we love about the Raiders. We love the grit. We love the grind. We love the passion. We love the energy. That's what we got to get back. We got to get that pride back.
Joey states Lynch is just taking snaps from Richard in Washington. Douglas Green, my dad grew up with a guy named Doug Green. Does Bruce Irwin exist? Unfortunately, Bruce Irwin died. He was a guy who worked, Australian guy who did some animal stuff like that. So Bruce Irwin is no longer with us. Bruce Irvin, however, the guy who plays for the Raiders, good question. The only time I've heard Bruce Irvin's name was twice on the year, Murph. Do you know which 2 times that was?
No, because I haven't heard of much either, and he wasn't there today.
When he body slammed people.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only time I've heard Mr. Irrelevant. I'm going to start calling him pick number 228. He's done nothing for us all year. Roy states it's early. Don't sleep on beast mode. Don't have our full team together. I've seen enough, bro. I've seen 5 games. I'm not on hype no more. Every time he ran, waving the sideline, come out. Hey, Raiders for Life writes, if we do not win next week, we are at the bottom of the AFC West. Last week, I stated we are number 3 in the AFC West, and I don't think you can argue that. That's just a fact at this point. No matter how much you hate the Chiefs and the Broncos, the Raiders are the 3rd best team in the AFC West, and everybody's right. If we lose next week, we are at the bottom, Murph, the bottom of the AFC West. Roy writes, we're not the chokers. We will get it together. Jack needs to bring that passion. Offense needs to involve Cordell Patterson more. I agree. He's badass. We need to involve everybody more. That's the problem. Get you poop in a group. We'll end on that comment right there from Jeff. By the way, if you need Raider gear, the flags behind me both came from deadpiratesports.com. Good quality flags.
Easy there, Hot Rod.
I think what's our promo code? RFR what? 10?
RFR10. Yeah, we always forget to give it out. We got to remember to do that.
RFR10. You go to deadpiratesports.com. If you order a bunch of gear, you can buy caftans, you can buy kimonos, you can buy flags, barbecue cover, anything you think that's Raider related, you can probably find at deadpiratesports.com. Give them the promo code RFR10, and you'll get 10% off of your order there. Jeff Haskins is the guy who runs that. He's on our chat right here, so hit him up if you've got any questions. You can also custom make your stuff. He got me a Stabler jersey early in the year. I'm really grateful for that. Anyway, Murph, we're going to get out. Our Raider Retort show, we keep it to about an hour. Sunday evenings, 8:30. We might try to do it every week. Might be every other week. Just depends on how pissed we are after that game. Tuesday, check out our normal podcast. It's called what's our podcast called?
Raiders Fan Radio.
I'm so mad I can't even think. Raiders Fan Radio. It's available on iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, anywhere you download podcasts, Google Play. You can find it there. We record Tuesdays, drop it on Wednesday. This week is a big week. It's episode 50 of our podcast. And we also interviewed John Kingdon, who was a scout with the Raiders for 33 years. Started in 1978, worked up until 2012. He is the co-author of the book, Al Davis, Behind the Raiders Shield. He dropped a lot of information on our show, dropped a lot of knowledge about the inside of the Raiders organization, talked all about the Jamarcus Russell draft, what led up to that draft. Really fascinating interview, and it was pretty awesome. So, again, check out that on Facebook. Obviously you're on Facebook watching this. Twitter, Raiders Fan Radio, and appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate all the comments. Love this. We had 221 comments tonight.
Beautiful. Thank you, Raider Nation.
That. It's fun. That makes it engaging. We talk to ourselves every Tuesday, so we like talking to you on Sundays. Otherwise,
yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. Anyway, so until then, Raider Nation, wherever, forever, you can be critical of your team. You can think with an objective mind. It doesn't mean you're getting off the bandwagon, because a true fan never even got on the bandwagon. So tell those idiots to shut up. And do me a favor, Raider Nation. Don't be throwing bottles at Donald Penn's car. Like that just makes no sense to me. Come on, get it together, right? All right. Until then, Murph, let's get out.